Hello and welcome to the Real Women, Real Purpose talk show. I'm Ginny Robertson, and today we're exploring what becomes possible when you begin to listen to your heart, honor your needs, and give yourself permission to build a life that truly supports you in mind, body, and soul. My guest today is Lori Pieper, author and founder of Journey to Inner Joy, and Lori calls herself an architect of joy. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. Lori empowers overwhelmed women to move from burnout to balance by combining the wisdom of ancient practices with modern science, helping them set boundaries, make aligned choices, and reclaim their joy. And today we're talking about New Year, New Choices, choosing to honor you. Lori, thanks for being with me today.
Oh, thanks for inviting me, Ginny. I always enjoy these.
And it's called New Year, New Choices. And as we chatted before we came on, we had this scheduled in January. And I don't know what was going on with me in January, but for whatever reason, I think I'd overbooked something. I don't remember. But then in February, I had bronchitis, I think. And
Yeah.
so, it's still a new year. And like we mentioned, it's spring. That's a great time to make new choices. Actually, January is not the best time to start making those new things. We
Exactly.
get pushed into that a lot with all the New Year stuff, don't we?
Right, right. Yeah. And for me in the winter, I should have been a bear so I could hibernate. So I don't
Yeah.
have the energy to make, any major changes. But the
Yeah.
spring, now I'm like psyched.
Yeah, I can tell such a difference in my whole demeanor. My whole vibe gets just raised up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Lori, let's start with this. I love how you call yourself an architect of joy. It's just a powerful and unique way to describe your work. And I want to know, what does that really mean for you, and how did you come to see your life and work through that particular lens?
Well, actually, I was working with a healer, and in our conversations, architect came up, and I'm like, I always wanted to be an architect as a kid, but I couldn't draw. So, all these reasons why I could. And as I thought about it, actually, I think the healer, she said, architect of joy. That's what you are, Lori, because she knew me. And when I dug in a little bit, I look at it as the women I work with, the number one thing is they are living a life that maybe someone else thinks is best or someone else loves, or they're just so exhausted they just keep going on and they no longer know who they are or what they want.
Mm.
So I start them with their blueprint. I ask questions, getting them their blueprint for their life. What do you know? What do you want now? What is your desires? And then from there, they can build, I can guide them and they can build the life that they want to lead. So I'm kind of like the creating the blueprint there and then guiding them as they build the life of their dreams.
I love that. And I'm guessing that for some women, you may be the first person to ever ask them those questions, because it's not something we're conditioned to learn or hear or even know how to answer them.
Right, right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I do get a lot of kind of blank stares like, I never thought about
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, was there a moment or experience that shifted all of this for you? And how do you, as part of that, how do you see that women can design their life differently? I mean, I know your story, but people watching this may not. So when did it all start shifting for you?
So I was in corporate as a software engineer slash support for 40 years. And towards the end, actually, I'll tell you, what really shifted for me was when I sat down at my desk here and I couldn't even bring myself to turn my computer on.
Mm.
I was so overwhelmed. I couldn't think. All I could do was cry. That's not me at all. That is not me. I am the go-getter. I am the one that gets it done. I am the one people come to, but I couldn't do anything. And that's when I realized I let all this stuff build up in me until I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I know women who actually put themselves in the hospital because they've let things grow, build so much. And we don't even see it, Jenny. We
Yeah,
just
we
we don't
don't.
see it.
There's a lot of fear attached to that. I know for myself, there was you don't do your job, you might not have a job, or
Right.
you don't excel. I come from the corporate world back when we got performance, we got raises based strictly on performance. And the norm, I mean, if you were a great employee, you got a 10% increase.
Wow.
I know that's unheard of today, but it was
Yeah,
like 10% is a lot,
that's
and so
huge.
of course, we're going to perform. We're going to jump through the hoops. We're going to do all of that at the
Yes.
expense of, and like you said, we don't even
Yes.
know what the expense is sometimes until it's
Right.
late, until like something happens and we have to crawl back from it or drag ourselves back from it. But
Exactly.
that's just really powerful. And it also ties into this idea that you say, we get to design our own lives. You help women design a blueprint for our own lives. What does that blueprint look like sometimes? And how can a woman begin to access it, especially if she's someone who's used to putting everybody first? Because I'm sure you get a lot of guilt
Eh,
language when this, and I may be jumping ahead a little bit, but
Yeah.
how does a woman do this when she's always put herself not just second, but last, right?
Yeah, so I take my clients through a series of questions, depending upon what that
Hmm.
can't say, depending on what the concern or issue is, because everybody's different. I
Hmm.
get questions like this, well, what do you do? Well, it depends on the person because everything is personalized. So just to give a couple different examples, like really why different examples. One lady came to me because she really wanted to go back to school and get a degree in what she was doing. But she was like concerned about what her husband would think, and they have kids, and she just wanted to talk through it. And in talking through it, not only did she decide to go back to school, she graduated, I'm proud to say, and but her husband was excited to say yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. But it's that fear factor, like you were saying. We're afraid to say, oh, hey, honey, I want to do XYZ because we don't know what they're going to say.
Hmm.
And it may be to your boss as well.
Yeah.
I and so I mean I've had to go to my boss back in the day and say this doesn't resonate with me. I mean this doesn't feel right to me. It makes me feel icky. And we talk it out, but it's
Hmm.
scary to do that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, especially when sometimes that's not something we typically say in those environments. This doesn't feel good to me. What do you mean it doesn't feel good to you? It doesn't have to feel good
Right.
to you, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But after I explained why, then he was like, you're right. It really isn't the right thing for us to do. So
Hmm.
as a company,
And
yeah,
I know, and I think a lot of women fall into this category of being excellent storytellers. But to be excellent storytellers, we have to be excellent story maker uppers, if you will. And that's where a lot of that comes from, is that we make up stories about what someone's response is going to be, but we don't
yes,
check it out with that person first. Or
right.
we don't just take the plunge because it is scary. And we were talking about relationships and we're talking about careers and all of that. So are there simple ways that or even just ways, maybe not so simple, how can we start to kind of tame that inner voice that's telling us, no, you don't really want to do that because my husband's going to get upset, when you have no facts to back that up, right? How can we start
Right.
to lower the decibels of that inner voice?
First and foremost, what I like to do, and this is where I combine the modern science with the woo-woo,
Hmm.
because science is telling us that our brain, which is the part of our brain which is millions of years old, is the part of our brain that keeps us safe. And so it learns, it remembers, it has patterns of if you do this, this, and this, then this is going to happen. But that's not always true.
Hmm.
So an example I like to use, if you're about to cross the street and you hear a horn beep, then you jump out of the way because you think somebody's going to run you over. Well, it might just be somebody waving to somebody else,
Hmm.
right? So it's not necessarily, it's not if then else all the time. So first of all, awareness. Is this
Okay.
really true? What's the worst that would happen? If you go to your husband and say, "Hey, I want to quit my job. I'm thinking about quitting my job and going back to school," is he going to divorce you? Probably not, right? But you're gonna, you got to talk about these things. So a series of questions, depending upon what it is, and awareness that, you know what, take baby steps. Maybe just, instead of quitting your job and going back to school, maybe just start looking into it more, or, I don't know. In that case, it didn't really work that well, but um, just asking yourself and being aware of how you're feeling as well.
And I would guess also, not guess because from personal experience, maybe this has never happened with that particular person before, but it's probably happened with someone who shot us down, someone who, you know, did exactly the same thing that we're concerned that someone else is doing, is going to do for us. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes. And even what you watch on TV,
Okay.
right? Because your brain doesn't know the difference between what's really happening to you and what you see in a movie. So,
Okay.
or what somebody else has told maybe she had a friend who, who she told her husband that XYZ and I wanted to quit and go back to school. And her husband got really mad. And so it's as women, we're so used to putting ourselves last. Like you were saying earlier, we're so used to putting ourselves last that we feel an obligation to put the kids, the house, the spouse first. And if we're in a pattern of doing that, the brain recognizes the pattern of this, you do this, oh, and life is happy. Well,
Okay.
and then the brain is like, oh, but wait a minute, you're throwing a wrench into this. Things may not be so happy now. Does that
That
make
makes such
sense?
sense. Oh, it makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Makes perfect sense. And so it leads me into this question of then about putting ourselves first or giving ourselves permission to even put ourselves first.
Yes.
How do you help women move past that guilt, which I kind of tapped into a few minutes ago, and into truly honoring their needs and maybe even saying no as like a complete sentence
Yes,
no
exactly.
without apologizing, right?
Yes, exactly,
Give one example
exactly.
of how you would help someone with that.
So a couple of ways, but first and foremost is taking baby steps.
Hmm.
It's scary to say, oh, I'm giving, giving, giving. Now I'm going to take, 3 weeks off and family, you're on your own.
Yeah.
Versus just taking 5 minutes. They don't even have to know that you're taking the time, but take 5 minutes for yourself. Do you ask yourself, question yourself, do I really need to clean the kitchen right now? No. You can just sit and read a book or take a walk. And the thing is, the biggest thing is what we don't realize is when we're taking care of ourselves, we're better able to take care of others. If we're
Absolutely.
if we're not taking care of ourselves, guess what? We start getting short-tempered, angry, and it's bad for our health.
Yeah. What's that cliche? It's a cliche saying, but I still like it. You can't pour from an empty cup, right? We have
Right,
nothing to give ourselves. We have nothing at all left over to give anyone else.
right.
Do you have any ideas that you could share about what does a healthy no look like and sound like? Like how does a woman start to be able to say no or no thank you or
No, no.
yeah, yeah. Probably get a little bit of pushback on that one, right?
Yeah. Well, just it depends on the situation, but especially I think the biggest thing is women in business or in corporate saying no to their boss. And so instead of just saying no, I'm not going to do that. Some things are like, great, look, that I'd love to do that. However, let's look at my schedule. Because right now,
Mm-hmm.
this is how I'm booked. What's more important here? So making it something that they still have a say in.
Yeah.
Same with like at home around the house. Hey, look, I work full time. I'm cleaning the house or taking care of the house and the kids full time. Can you give me a hand? Can we think of ways where the kids can, and this is one of the things I did actually do with a client, is um, ask the kids to pitch in, make it a game. Oh, who can
Mm-hmm.
pick up the most clothes, or who can pick up the most toys? Make it a game and give them a reward. But if you, when we think about saying no to someone, we think about just saying no. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when we soften it with a question of, hey, how can we work this out? Or make invite the kids to help out. It's a whole different ballgame. And
Yeah.
it feels more natural. It feels better. And you don't have to be all tensed up.
It feels very adult.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Very
yes, it
adult, right?
does.
Yeah. And, I'm
Oh,
still,
dear me.
even though I don't really think about it much until I'm doing something like this, I'm a fan of transactional analysis from back in the day. Like, I'm okay, you're okay. The book
Mm,
that came, you probably weren't born yet when that came out, but yeah, it was in, I think it was in the 70s. And, and it was, it had these three things that we communicate: parent to child, parent to adult. The only way that it actually works is when we do adult to adult. Two children communicating doesn't work, two parents communicating, depending on what they're communicating about. But if it's about their own relationship, that's not going to work. And that adult to adult's
right.
the only way that actually can work. And so I think when I tell you what my needs are and you get a save, you're giving me the paycheck, that we can negotiate this a bit, not just I refuse to do it, because that also might get you fired. You
Yes.
set a boundary though that will set up like a precedent, and next time maybe it will happen a little differently, you know.
Yes.
And so I really
Yes.
like that a lot. I like that a lot. And you kind of mentioned a little bit about, what happens to us when we don't take care of ourselves, don't say no, don't step back, don't ask for help, which we don't really care to do that for a lot of reasons. One is that we think we can do things better than everybody else, and two
Yep.
is that it's a sign of being weak, right? You don't need help because we're Wonder Women.
Right.
But this,
Right.
let's just talk about the basics of self-care, like sleep, and just they're
Yeah.
not nice to haves. They're not
Right.
like things that we do if there's time. So talk about how that can actually harm our bodies and harm ourselves in a way.
Mm. Well, when you look at what's going on inside the body when you're stressed, and anytime you're afraid or angry or all those negative feelings, you're in some level of fight or flight.
Mm,
And one of the biggest things that's going on is hormones are being pushed into your bloodstream, things like cortisol. I worked with a lady, wonderful lady. We're still friends. She was thin. She worked out all the time. She had what somebody might call the perfect diet, and she ended up having high cholesterol. And she's like, "How can I have high cholesterol? It's not in my family history or anything." She was so stressed out, and I worked with her, so I know how much stress she was going through. All that cortisol is one of the things that is being pumped into your bloodstream. So it doesn't have any place to go. And
mm,
so that's how you get high cholesterol, which negatively impacts your blood or your heart. And also, when you are in fight or flight, anytime you're in angry, etc., the blood goes away from your rational thinking brain and goes to your reactionary brain. So you're more likely to snap at somebody, make rash decisions. So that's not good either.
mhm,
If you are, we do this a lot, we work and eat at the same time. right
Mm.
at
Or
lunch.
drive and eat.
Or drive and eat, exactly.
Yep, we
Well,
used to
there,
do that a lot of that in the day. Yeah.
yes, yes. And so there's stress associated with working and driving, good God knows. Um, so the blood is being redirected from your digestive system into your parts of your body that are needed for fight and flight. Similarly, if you're trying to conceive, I know a lot of young women who, are trying to have babies and they can't, and they're in this cycle of working all day, coming home, taking care of the house. The blood also goes away from your reproductive system.
Wow.
Yeah, so these are things that we're not aware of. So we don't think it's a big deal that we're stressed out and we're doing all this stuff. We don't realize it. And as soon as you can bring the blood back to your rational brain, you're a nicer person. Bring it back to your digestive system. You're not going to feel icky after you eat. You're going to get more nutrition from your food, et cetera. So it just makes sense once you understand.
Yeah. And it's really all about awareness, isn't it? We have to start paying attention
Yes.
to our bodies, which again is
Yes.
one of the last things that gets taken care of sometimes if there's time. Or, women have to also learn to trust their bodies
Yes.
and what
Absolutely.
their bodies are telling them. Um, for the women who are listening right now, Lori, and feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, maybe even disconnected from herself, what's a powerful first step she could take today to begin moving from that burnout place back to some joy in her life? Other than
Breathe.
contacting you,
That's right.
because
Well,
we'll
you can
talk a
always,
little
yeah,
bit more
yes.
about that in a few minutes. Yeah.
Breathe. Breathe by expanding your belly. When we are stressed, we're breathing from our chest. We're breathing up here, and that puts us and keeps us in fight or flight mode. But when we can take a moment, close your eyes if you can, and just breathe, expand your belly, and
Mm,
then exhale for a little longer than the inhale. So if you inhale for like 3 counts, exhale for 4 or 5. Because that exhale being longer than the inhale physiologically makes it easier and faster for you to get out of fight and flight and into rest and
mhm.
restore.
And the beauty of that, Lori, is that we can do it anywhere at any time. It's free, costs us nothing. Nobody knows we're
Yes,
doing it, you know.
exactly.
Yeah. In fact, I
Exactly.
just found myself taking my first deep breath probably in the last 30 minutes, just now. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Lori, this is a really important conversation and very powerful. So I know there are women who are going to see themselves in what you've shared and feel both validated and probably inspired to make some new choices for themselves. So I want to thank you for doing that work that you're doing out there and the calling that I know that you have to do this work. Can you please let our listeners know how they can connect with you and learn more about your work?
Oh, absolutely. Well, you can go to my website called journeytoinnerjoy.com. You can, I think we'll have, well, you can also email me at Lori at journeytoinnerjoy.com. And I do on my website, I do have a way to connect a free 30-minute conversation. You can ask whatever questions you want. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. We can, hopefully I can help you in that 30 minutes. And if not, then, I can hopefully at least the goal is that I would at least be giving you something that you can work with, that you can work
Yeah.
on to get over some struggles.
So if anything in today's conversation has resonated with you watching this, go check out Lori's website and book an appointment with her, a free 30-minute
Mm.
consult to see how she can help you. And if it's a fit, if it's a fit to continue working, that can happen. If not, you've lost nothing. In fact, you've gained
Yes.
something really great, really great. Lori, final thoughts. What's the most important
Um,
thing you'd like to leave us with?
well, for one, I do have a free workshop that I'm going to have every quarter. It's tomorrow, but that's on my website too. But the important thing is know that you are important. You are worth it. People around you love you because you are you. And be you. Stop worrying about everything. It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
But yeah, just recognize that you are unique. You are who you are supposed to be, and let your true self shine.
Beautiful last words. And I'll just add, when we do that, we love better. We are show up in the world better. Other people really benefit from us when we are in
Yes,
that space, and our life is way, way, way much more joyful. So,
definitely.
thank you again, Lori. I really appreciate it. I look forward to talking with you. We've done this a few times now, and I look forward to speaking with you. So, thanks for being here.
Thank
Websies.
you.
Lori's website is also in the text of this video, so please check her out. Take advantage of her free consult and also a workshop that she mentioned is happening tomorrow. Get on her email list so you can be notified of any other workshops or any other things that she has coming up you might want to take advantage of. And I want to thank you all for tuning in to the Real Women, Real Purpose Talk Show. If something in today's conversation spoke to you, I invite you to take one small step, just one, to honor yourself in a new way. We'll see you next time. Thanks.